I want to focus where I know a lot of the discussion has been with regard to broadband in remote and extreme rural areas. A lot of us have that concern. It's an overriding concern of mine, and I want to begin with some compliments. I want to thank the commissioners. 2 years ago, I was very focused, and a lot of you were, on the Alaska plan, which kind of recognized that there's remote and then there's Alaska, and we're obviously extremely remote relative to any other state in the country. I also appreciate there's been a lot of visits. Commissioner Carr, thank you for just being up in my state just last week. I know you got around, and I know all of you have also been up there. And increasing the funding from $400 million to $575 million on the rural health care related issues, I think that's very important, and we need to continue that work. And I think you see broad bipartisan support on that. The ideas, Commissioner Riley, you've talked about remote areas funds and other things. I think we want to continue to work on that, and I think you're seeing strong bipartisan support. But I will say none of this matters if programs are not run with predictability and certainty and stability. The chairman's initial comments when he kicked off the hearing this morning really emphasized that. You probably saw this is a big issue for all of us. If a program doesn't have stability or certainty, then it's essentially you're kind of undermining the whole system. And in my state, we don't have stability. We don't have certainty. The rural health care program, unfortunately, from my perspective, has moved from being run in an ad hoc, constantly changing, move the goalpost manner, and is having a very negative consequences in Alaska. My state and I have spent countless, and I mean countless, hours on this issue with the FCC and its staff. It's an issue I've probably worked on with my team almost more than any other issue, particularly with your office, Mr. Chairman, and the results have been underwhelming and frustrating and completely unacceptable. The damage being done to this program in Alaska by the FCC's remarkably ad hoc approach hurts not just telecoms companies. You know, we're into FY18 and the 2017 reimbursements are still not happening, which is unbelievable to me, and their ability to invest their private sector capital, but the health clinics and most importantly the constituents that's meant to serve in some of the most impoverished places in America. So I will always support rigorous oversight of the program to ensure good stewardship, the useful and focus on taxpayer dollars of the Universal Service Fund, but stability, predictability, objective enforcement of the rules is critical for the program's integrity and carrying out its intent. So I'm going to ask each of you this basic question. Are you aware of the status of the 2017 rural health care applications in Alaska, and what specific steps or reforms are you able to commit to taking in order to ensure that the 2017 issues are not repeated next year or after? Already 6 healthcare providers, small rural providers in my state, have opted out of the program for next year because they have no idea if they're going to get the money. And it's probably going to be more. So I'd like an answer from each of you, starting with Commissioner Rosenworcel.
Yes, Senator, I recognize how important this program is to Alaska. I am aware of difficulties, and I can commit to you now that we should resolve them as expeditiously as possible and make sure that we don't continue to have them going forward.
Commissioner Carr.
Yes, Senator, I'm aware of it, and I've been a voice inside the Commission pushing to make sure we can get to resolution and get to stability going forward.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Reilly.
Yes, I agree with my colleagues on this exact point. I associate myself with Commissioner Rosenworcel's points.
And Mr. Chairman, again, my frustrations on this have exceeded almost any other issue I've worked on as a U.S. Senator. Most of it's come from your office.
Senator, appreciate your concern. As you know, we've had many conversations about that.
Too many. And
as have at our staffs. And I can commit to you, I'm obviously aware of the issue, and we are working diligently with one carrier in particular to resolve those issues.
This was stated essentially some version of that to me probably 8 months ago. And again, I've lost my patience, and we need to not only deal with what went on in 2017, but right now, I have entire communities that are spooked because they have no earthly idea what the rules are. And we don't have predictability, you don't have people participating. And we don't have people participating in companies and clinics, then the people it's meant to help, my constituents. I was just out in a lot of these rural communities. These are amazing American citizens, but they're in very, very impoverished parts of the country. And this has been, I hear this from everybody. You got to do a better job. We want to work with you, but I am just tired of having this same conversation.
I couldn't agree more, Senator, which is why we resolved issues with respect to one company, and from the other, we're getting information from them still and looking to work through that to make sure we resolve these issues with respect to every fiscal year. And going forward, as you know, thanks to your leadership, we've increased the fund by 43% and included that inflation factor to mitigate this problem going forward.
Well, look, I appreciate the increasing of the funding, but stability, predictability, as the chairman stated in his, not just for Alaska, but for all of these programs, is critical, or you're not going to get people or companies to participate in.